Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now, because this is real talk, and I don't want you to miss it. When a man starts acting distant, when he pulls back, when he gets quiet, when he suddenly isn't showing up the way he used to, most women panic. You start asking yourself 1,000 questions. What did I do wrong? Is he losing interest? Is there somebody else? You start chasing, you start calling, you start texting, you start trying to win back what you feel is slipping away. But let me help you understand something powerful. When he pulls away, that is not the moment for you to chase. That is the moment for you to pause. Ladies and gentlemen, when a man pulls away, when he suddenly goes quiet, when the energy shifts and he's not showing up the way he once did, the natural instinct for so many women is to chase after him. You want to figure out what's wrong. You want to fix it. You want to know why things don't feel the same anymore. And I get it, because when you love someone or you care about someone, you don't want to lose them. You don't want to sit back and watch them drift away. But I'm here to tell you that the most powerful thing you can do when he starts pulling away is not to chase him, but to pause and protect your peace. Because the moment you start chasing, the moment you start running behind somebody who's pulling back, you shift the balance of power in the relationship. And you start sending the wrong message about your worth. See, here's the truth a man respects: what he has to work for, what he has to pursue, what he has to value. When you reverse that by chasing, you rob him of the chance to step up and show you how much you mean to him. You start making the relationship one-sided without even realizing it. And what happens when you're the only one putting in all the effort? You drain yourself. You start losing your confidence. You start doubting your worth. And you begin to think that if you just try harder, if you just call more, if you just text more, if you just explain yourself enough, he'll come back around. But the harder you push, the farther he pulls back, because nobody values what they don't have to earn. When you chase, you teach him that you'll always be there no matter how little he gives. And that's not the lesson you want him to learn about you now. I'm not saying you play games. This is not about being manipulative or cold. This is about self-respect. This is about understanding that your peace, your joy, your sense of worth cannot hinge on how consistently a man shows up in your life. Protecting your peace means you don't let his actions throw you into emotional chaos. It means you take a step back and remind yourself that you were somebody before he came along, and you'll still be somebody if he walks away. It means you choose not to lose yourself in the process of trying to hold on to someone who may not even be holding on to you. And the moment you make that choice, the energy shifts, because you stop acting out of desperation and start operating out of strength. Let me put it to you like this: if someone doesn't value what you bring to the table, then let them get up. You don't have to beg anybody to appreciate what's already priceless. You don't have to convince anybody to recognize your worth. And you sure don't have to chase someone to keep their attention. When he pulls away, let him. That's not the time for you to panic. That's the time for you to focus on yourself. Go back to your goals. Go back to your purpose. Go back to building your life in a way that feels full even without him. Because a man who is serious about you, a man who truly values you, will not stay away. He may need space, he may need time, but he will always come back to what he respects. And if he doesn't, that's your answer right there. You don't have to fight for clarity when his actions are already speaking loud. And ladies, let me say this because it's important. Chasing a man doesn't only hurt the relationship, it hurts you. It puts you in a place where you feel small, New York, where you feel like you're not enough, where you're constantly questioning yourself. That's not love, that's torment. Love shouldn't make you lose yourself. It should build you up. Protecting your peace means refusing to let someone else's inconsistency rob you of your happiness. It means saying, I love you, but I love myself more. I want this, but I won't destroy myself to have it. I value this relationship, but I value my sanity and self-respect above it. And when you stand in that kind of strength, you stop being the one chasing and you become the one choosing. That's the difference between begging for love and commanding respect. So the next time a man pulls away, the next time he starts acting distant, don't go into overdrive trying to pull him back. Pause. Protect your peace. Let him feel the weight of your absence instead of the comfort of your chase. Because if he cares, he'll notice and he'll correct it. And if he doesn't, then you've just saved yourself from wasting more time on someone who never deserved you in the first place. Your power is not in how hard you chase. Your power is in how firmly you stand, and the man who is meant for you will never require you to lose yourself in order to keep him. Ladies and gentlemen, when a man starts to act distant, the first thing most women do is blame themselves. You start overthinking every detail of the last conversation, every text message, every moment you spent together, wondering if you said something wrong, wondering if you did something to push him away. But the truth that so many of you need to hear is this: his distance is not always about you. Don't take it personal. A man pulling back doesn't always mean he's lost interest. It doesn't always mean he's got someone else. And it doesn't always mean you've done something wrong. Many times it has nothing to do with you at all. It has everything to do with what's going on in his own mind, his own struggles, his own fears, his own stress. See, men and women are built differently in how they handle life. Women, when they feel stressed, when they feel unsure, when they're overwhelmed, they often want to talk it out, to lean on the people they trust, to find comfort and connection. But men, many times do the opposite. They retreat. They go into silence. They pull back into their own head because they're trying to figure out how to deal with their problems without looking weak. So when you see him pulling away, when he gets quieter, when his energy shifts, sometimes it's not rejection. It's him trying to process something in his own way. And if you take that distance personally, if you start reacting as though it's all about you, you can actually make the situation worse. Think about it. If you start chasing, questioning, pressing him for answers he's not ready to give, you're putting pressure on someone who's already under pressure. If you start panicking and assuming the worst, you're feeding a story in your head that may not even be true. And if you let his silence make you feel unworthy, you're handing your self-esteem over to his behavior. That's why I'm telling you right now, don't take it personal, because his silence might not have anything to do with you. It might be about work. It might be about his money. It might be about his purpose. It might be about insecurities he doesn't know how to express. And yes, sometimes it might even be about you, but you won't know the difference if you rush to conclusions instead of giving him space to reveal the truth now. Does it mean you just accept being ignored without boundaries? Absolutely not. But it does mean you approach the situation from a place of confidence instead of fear. You don't start spiraling into self-blame every time he needs a moment. You don't let your emotions convince you that you're unlovable just because he's quiet. Because here's what happens when you stop taking it personal. You stop reacting emotionally and you start responding wisely. Instead of bombarding him with calls, you give him room. Instead of assuming the worst, you keep focusing on your life. Instead of questioning your worth, you stand firm in knowing that your value doesn't rise and fall with someone else's mood swings. And in that calmness, you create space for the truth to come out naturally. Let me make this clear. A man who truly loves you, a man who is genuinely invested in you, will not stay distant forever. His silence is temporary, not permanent. If it's about stress, he'll eventually come back around. If it's about you, his actions will eventually reveal it. Either way, you don't have to break yourself trying to figure it out right away. You let time show you what's real. And in the meantime, you keep living. You keep thriving. You keep reminding yourself that you are more than enough, whether he's close or far. Because when you don't take his distance personally, you stay in control of your own peace. Now let me say this to the women who struggle with overthinking. Sometimes you're so used to giving your all, so used to holding everything together, that when someone pulls away, you automatically assume it must be your fault. But listen carefully. It's not always about you. A man can love you deeply and still need space. A man can care for you and still not know how to communicate in the moment. A man can be distant because he's dealing with things you don't even know about, and instead of dragging you into his storm, he tries to protect you by stepping back. So instead of letting his behavior define you, you remind yourself that love is not proven by constant closeness. It's proven by consistency over time. And sometimes distance is just a test, not a statement of your worth. But here's the other side. If you take everything personal, if every time he steps, you go into panic mode, you'll end up pushing him further away, because a man doesn't want to feel like your whole world falls apart every time he's not right next to you. He wants to know you're secure, that you trust yourself, that you have your own foundation. And when you can stand strong even when he's quiet, it does two things. It gives him room to handle what he needs to handle, and it shows him that you're not easily shaken. And let me tell you something, that's attractive. Confidence, security, peace. Those qualities make a man want to step back in because he sees that you don't need him to validate your existence. You choose him because you value what he adds to your already full life. So ladies, the next time a man pulls away, the next time he acts distant, don't let your mind run wild with self-doubt. Don't let fear convince you that you're losing him. Don't start questioning your worth every time he needs silence. Remember, his distance is not always about you. And when you stop taking it personal, you protect your peace, you guard your confidence, and you give the relationship the space it needs to show you what it really is. Ladies and gentlemen, your worth is never defined by his attention or consistency. Too many times, women get caught up in this cycle of measuring their value by how much a man calls, how quickly he texts back, how often he shows up, or how affectionate he seems to be in the moment. And when that attention slows down, when the consistency fades, when he starts acting a little different, you start questioning yourself. You start asking, am I not pretty enough? Am I not interesting enough? Am I not lovable enough? But the truth is, your worth does not rise and fall with the way a man treats you. Your worth was set before he ever showed up, and it will remain long after he's gone. See, here's the mistake a lot of people make in relationships. They hand over the responsibility of their self-worth to someone else. They let another person's actions, moods, and energy determine how they feel about themselves. If he's attentive, you feel loved. If he's distant, you feel unwanted. If he's consistent, you feel secure. If he's inconsistent, you feel insecure. But that's a dangerous way to live because it gives somebody else total control over your emotional stability. And when you live like that, you're not in a relationship, you're in a roller coaster. One day you're up, the next day you're down, and all because you tied your identity to somebody else's behavior. Now let me tell you something powerful. You are not valuable because of how someone else sees you. You are valuable because of who you are. You are valuable because you carry qualities no one else has, because you bring energy no one else can duplicate, because you were created with worth that can't be erased just because somebody doesn't recognize it. Think about a diamond. If someone doesn't know its value, if they treat it like a piece of glass, does that change the fact that it's a diamond? No. It only shows that the person holding it doesn't have the eyes to recognize what's in their hands. And that's how you have to look at yourself. A man's inconsistency doesn't make you less valuable. His lack of attention doesn't make you less worthy. It only reveals that he may not be capable of seeing you for who you really are. The danger is when you start believing that lie. Because the moment you let his lack of consistency define you, you start shrinking yourself. You start settling for less than you deserve. You start accepting behavior that disrespects you because you're desperate to feel validated. And then you wake up one day realizing you've lost yourself in the process of trying to hold on to someone who couldn't even see your true worth. That's why you've got to decide right now, your identity, your confidence, your sense of worth is not up for negotiation. It's not going to be built or broken by how steady a man is. It's going to be rooted in knowing who you are with or without him. Now, let's be real. Attention feels good. Consistency feels good. When someone shows up for you, when they give you time and energy, it's natural to feel cared for. But there's a difference between enjoying that and depending on it to know your worth. When you depend on it, you create a cycle where you're only as strong as the love you're receiving. But when you know your worth regardless, you flip the script. You enjoy the attention when it's there, but you don't crumble when it's not. You appreciate consistency, but you don't lose yourself when it shifts. That kind of confidence is what allows you to stand tall even when somebody pulls away, because you know that your value doesn't disappear just because their energy did. And let me tell you this, when you carry yourself with that level of self-worth, you naturally attract better. You stop tolerating games. You stop chasing after half efforts. You stop begging people to stay. Because you know that anybody who wants to be in your life has to match the standard you've already set for yourself. You're not waiting for somebody to validate you. You're looking for somebody to align with the worth you already recognize in yourself. And that right there is where your power lies. Because once you know your value, inconsistency no longer destabilizes you. It exposes who's really capable of being in your life and who's not. So ladies, the next time a man is inconsistent, the next time his attention fades, don't let it break you. Don't let it make you question who you are. Don't let it fool you into thinking you're less than. Your worth is never defined by his attention or his consistency. Your worth is set, unshakable, unchanging. And the man who sees it will never make you question it. Ladies and gentlemen, a queen doesn't beg, she attracts by knowing her value. Too many women think that in order to keep a man's attention, they have to beg, plead, convince, or constantly prove why they're worth being chosen. You think if you love harder, if you give more, if you sacrifice your peace and your dignity, that somehow he'll wake up and see your value. But let me tell you something, begging doesn't build love. It only builds imbalance. A woman who knows her worth never has to beg for love because her presence, her energy, and her confidence already attract the right kind of man. See, when you beg, what you're really saying is that you don't believe you're enough as you are. You're telling yourself that without his validation, you have no value. And when you believe that, you start lowering your standards. You start excusing behavior you know isn't right. You start accepting less than what you truly deserve because deep down you're afraid of being alone. But a queen understands that being alone is never worse than being undervalued. A queen knows that her peace, her dignity, her self-respect are worth more than any man's inconsistent affection. And because she carries herself that way, she doesn't have to chase or beg. Men naturally step up to meet her standard. Here's the thing about attraction. It's not just about looks. It's about energy. When you know who you are, when you walk with confidence, when you have a life that's full of purpose and joy outside of a relationship, people feel that. Men feel that. And the right man is drawn to it because he sees that you're not desperate. You're not clinging. You're not waiting around for someone to complete you. You're already whole. And wholeness attracts wholeness. Security attracts security. A man who is ready for something real will recognize it in you without you having to beg him to stay. Now let's be real. Everybody wants love. Everybody wants companionship. Everybody wants to feel chosen. That's natural. But wanting love doesn't mean you have to compromise your value to get it. Love that is real doesn't require you to beg for attention. It doesn't require you to sacrifice your self-worth just to keep somebody close. If you find yourself constantly pleading for someone to notice you, to prioritize you, to choose you, that's not love. That's a sign you're giving too much of yourself to someone who isn't giving enough in return. And the longer you stay in that position, the more it drains you, the more it breaks you, the more it convinces you that you're not worthy, when in reality, you've just been investing in the wrong place. A queen understands this. That's why she doesn't beg. She doesn't fight for crumbs when she deserves the whole meal. She doesn't chase after someone who keeps showing her through their actions that they're not ready, not willing, or not capable. Instead, she attracts by standing firm in her worth. She sets boundaries. She communicates her standards clearly. And she makes it clear through her actions that she will never lower herself just to be kept. That energy alone speaks louder than any words, and it draws in the kind of man who respects her without her ever having to beg for it. And let me tell you something else. When you beg, you actually lose respect in his eyes, because men are wired to value what they have to pursue. When you flip the roles and start begging him to stay, begging him to love you, begging him to be consistent, you remove the chase and you remove the respect. But when you carry yourself with confidence, when you hold your head high even if he pulls away, when you keep living your life and protecting your peace, he notices. And the man who truly values you will step up without being asked, because he knows your presence is worth working for. So ladies, remember this, a queen doesn't beg, she attracts. She attracts by knowing she's valuable, by refusing to settle, by holding herself with grace and strength. And when you stand in that truth, you stop chasing love and start attracting the love that was meant for you all along.